Storytime about how I caught my dad watching me while I changed. I think he's trying to gaslight me. I need help. I'm 17 years old, about to turn 18. My parents got a divorce when I was 13. My mom caught him cheating on her over several times. And one of the times, he even did it at home with some girl he met at a bar. Because of that, my mom told me not to ever trust him. But the way she would say things made me think that there was something else behind everything. After the divorce, my mom got full custody, thank God. This is when my mom told me that I needed to stay away from him. She told me that if I ever found myself alone with him, that I should just call her and tell her to pick me up. When I was 13, I never thought about it twice. After the divorce, my dad started dating a 19-year-old girl. Mind you, he was 46 at the time. When my mom found out, I remember she called him. She told him he was disgusting for dating someone that was 19. But my dad laughed on the phone and hung up on her. My mom didn't even know that I heard the conversation, but she had it on speaker, so I did. He did have rights to visitation though, so he would come over every Saturday and Sunday to visit me. But my mom never left us alone. But my dad has been giving me such weird vibes lately. When I bring it up to him, he says I'm hallucinating and imagining things. When I turned 15, I started growing more into my body. My boobula started growing in a little more. This is when I noticed that my dad would look at me a lot more when he would come over to visit me. But like I said, my mom never left us alone. This is also around the time that my dad started asking me if I was interested in boys, and that if I ever let a boy touch me before. But it's the way that he said it. It wasn't like in a fatherly way. It was in a gross, nosy way. As soon as he asked me that, my mom told him to stop talking to me like that. And she answered for me. She said, of course she doesn't let boys touch her. What do you expect? My dad laughed and said, okay, fine. Just making sure. I was completely grossed out by my own father, ew. When I turned 16, my mom started letting me date, and this boy I really liked actually asked me out. I was really excited. I mean, he said he wanted to meet my mom. He came over on a Saturday and my mom made lunch for us. We had a really great time, but then my dad knocks on the door. By the way, he told us that he wasn't gonna be able to come, which is why my mom invited my boyfriend in the first place. As soon as my dad comes in, he started acting jealous. That's when my dad started acting all jealous when he saw my boyfriend. He took my mom into another room and said that I shouldn't have a boyfriend, and that I was too young and that he would take advantage of me. But my mom stood her ground. She asked him politely to leave and he did. The following Saturday, my dad comes over to visit again. This time, I was in my room changing. My mom told him that I was in my room changing, but she went to the kitchen. Obviously, this is when my dad comes upstairs. The door was slightly open and he could see inside. I was finishing putting on a t-shirt, and when I turned around, there he is looking. I screamed and told him that he scared me, and I told him, why are you watching me change? He said, you're crazy, I wasn't doing that. I said, yes, you were, I just saw you. I was so weirded out. After he left, I asked my mom why she never leaves me alone with him. That's when she told me that he was accused of S.A.ing an underage girl. So I told my mom what happened. That's when she said he's never coming back to this house again. Now my dad is gaslighting both me and my mom. He even called me a liar and that I'm making it up. But my mom, of course, believes me. What should we do?
My husband hit me for the first time and I'm still in shock. My 23 female, husband 26 male and I have been married since February 2020. We joked when it happened that we had the perfect timing since a lot of my friends ended up with relationship strife and breakups over the last couple of years. Currently, we have one daughter who is 7 months old. I stay home with her most of the time. My husband works in management for an up-and-coming company and is often gone 9 to 10 hours a day, so I do all of the housework. This is usually totally fine with me. This week, I did a lot of cooking and baking and haven't been as diligent as I should have been with dishes. So I let them build up in the sink quite a bit. My husband mentioned it yesterday morning when he was grabbing coffee, and I told him I plan on doing them in the afternoon. He grumbled a little but didn't argue. Then, yesterday afternoon, I ended up getting a surprise visit from one of my friends who brought her 2-year-old for a playdate. Our kids love each other and always have a lot of fun, so that's how the afternoon passed. My friend left at 4:30 or so, and I immediately started dinner and the dishes. My husband got home at 5:30. Dinner was just finishing up. Dishes were about 75% done. I rinsed my hands and left what was remaining in the sink, grabbing clean plates so we could eat. My husband said something to me like, couldn't even finish the dishes? What have you been doing all day? Ooh, this is gonna get ugly. My husband and I like to tease each other good-naturedly, so I assumed this was more of the same. I said something like, dinner is ready and I like to eat it while it's hot for once in my life. My husband didn't say anything, but he did backhand me across the mouth and then he told me not to disrespect him again. I was in complete shock because he never acts this way. It was a complete 180 out of the blue. Even in arguments with men, I've never seen him threaten to raise a hand to them. I'm so confused and I'm scared to bring it up and I don't know what to do. How does a woman leave a man when she has no money, no income, no supportive family, and a kid? If not for our daughter, I think I would have told him to F off and walked out that exact moment. But my worst fear is her ending up homeless or worse, him getting full custody because I don't have a safe place to house her. My mom is my only living family and she's a barely functional alcoholic, so I'm not sure what she could do even if she wanted to. And then a part of me says that this is a huge overreaction and that my daughter would hate me for leaving her dad over one measly fight.
I'm suing my friend because she kicked me out of her wedding for getting a haircut. For my friend's 3-day wedding, I had to buy 3 different dresses, including alterations and specific shoes which totaled over $700. She also wanted specific hairstyles for each day. Unfortunately, starting in March, my hair started to deteriorate. Due to the health reasons, my hair was falling out in chunks, and in May, I made the difficult decision to cut my hair. I told the bride about my decision 2 weeks before the wedding, and she didn't say anything bad. The following week, she came over to my house, and when she was about to leave, she brought up something she was concerned about my haircut, and I told her it would look good even though I wouldn't be uniform with the other bridesmaids. The following day, I received this text message. After our recent conversations, I'd like to remind you of my boundaries. I've been very accommodating and graceful, but I can't allow you to disrespect me. As you know, my wedding has been something I've dreamt of for many years. My husband and I have invested a lot of money into the video and photos of this day, and as we reflect on this day and the further, we want to see our vision reflected in the memories. Since I asked each of you to be the bridesmaid in 2019, I've been very clear and communicative in my request. The timing of your decision to cut your hair and not income in advance is very upsetting to me. I would have felt respected if you had communicated with me more than a week prior to the wedding, so we could have worked together to find a collaborative solution. Your inconsistencies have concerned me, and while I sympathize with your health concerns, I'm not willing to compromise my vision to accommodate you or anyone else when you have informed me in advance and we could have found a better solution. Since this is something you can no longer fully commit to, I need you to please step down from participating in my wedding. This was 3 days before the wedding. I immediately sent her and her husband an invoice asking them to reimburse for the dress and shoes, keeping in mind that one of the dresses is still in her possession even though I paid for it. Neither of them replied, so I decided to take it to court. I was told I was inconsistent and selfish after I spent the past 2 weeks helping her plan the wedding shower. I worked with another bridesmaid to surprise her with the bridal shower after our bachelorette trip had to be canceled. I spent hours helping her out with wedding details. When she asked me to help her tone up before the wedding, I sent her a personalized workout program and even went with her to the gym to show her the ropes. When I agreed to be her bridesmaid, I was more than willing to oblige with what she had asked, even if at times it was a lot of time and money. So am I the asshole for taking her to court because she kicked me out for cutting my hair?
Am I the asshole for purposely bleeding on my teacher's brand new chair? For some background, this teacher is very strict about bathroom usage. She limits us to 1 bathroom break every 2 months. Multiple girls have encountered the same situation as me but have either walked out of the classroom or sat in a sweater. The girls who walked out usually got detention, and if they walked out enough, suspension. I, 16 female, was on my period. I had used my one time the day before to change my menstrual product. I raised my hand and asked if I could go to the restroom. She said no. I decided maybe if I talked to her and explained the situation, she would understand. She obviously didn't and went on this long rant about how women shouldn't talk about those things. She went on and on about being ladylike and how my male peers would think this conversation was disgusting if they overheard it. I was starting to get annoyed and was thinking about just walking out, but I had to compose myself. If I did that one thing out of anger, she would get me suspended because I've walked out before. I sat back down and just sat there angry before I realized there was an empty brand new seat. The one I was already sitting on was one of those typical plastic school chairs. The day before, she said she was so excited to get new chairs and how comfortable they would be. I switched my chair with that one and removed my backpack from under me. Then I went back to work and kind of forgot what I did. Once class ended, I got up. A male friend behind me told me I had a giant stand on my behind. I was happy I messed up the chair, but also felt very guilty. Teachers don't make a lot of money, and she had bought them out of her pocket. My teacher was walking around the class and saw the stain. She was very pissed. She asked me to stay back in class, so I asked my friend to wait for me. He's a guy, so I was hoping she would be too embarrassed to talk about things when a male student is around. She was, but my friend refused to leave and stood in front of a window. She called the counselor to take him somewhere else. I was angry because not only would I get in trouble, but he would get in trouble as well. She called my parents, and I ended up getting suspended for a week for bad behavior and destruction of property. My parents are on her side, which is out of character for them. For most of the phone calls she makes about students, she allows them to be in the room, but I wasn't, so I'm a bit suspicious.
What's the fastest you've ever gone from caring about someone to straight up loathing them? Late high school years. A friend in our group had invited everyone to hang out at his parents' house. We were supposed to agree on a time the day of, but people weren't answering my calls or messages or were really vague. It was almost 7 p.m., which was a couple of hours later than I'd figured, so I decided to drive over. Sent one guy a message saying no one's really answering, so I'll just go ring the friend's doorbell. So all of a sudden, the friend calls me and says he was caught up in something and the whole thing might be off. He'll let me know. Thing is, he called me when I was just parking in front of his house, and had a clear view of almost everyone in my group in his house. I let the call go on for several minutes, watching him motion people to be quiet, doing the talking hand yada yada gesture etc. without letting him know I was watching him. Until the dude finally spotted my car. He then, very obviously, told everyone to hide because he thought I'd just pulled up. And one guy who also pretended to be my friend actually hit the ground together with his girlfriend to avoid being seen from the window. So those 3 people, 2 friends and the GF of 1, I have absolutely zero respect for. Also, I have nothing to do with any of them anymore, so that's nice. Then again, I also very clearly saw one real friend tell the friend off. He also called me immediately and said to wait up, He'd rather hang out with me than those eye holes. 20 years later we're still very close and effectively formed a new group of friends, so big silver lining. My mom thinks the universe revolves around her. My mom's been a stay-at-home mom all my life. Only she doesn't do anything a stay-at-home mom does. She only does the laundry and dishes sometimes. She never cooks for anyone except my brother. I feed myself or my dad cooks for us. She refuses to drive me anywhere and actively tries to prevent me from getting my license. She makes my dad schedule his work meetings around my schedule so he can drive me places. I've even asked her to stop doing my laundry because she keeps complaining about it / ruining my clothes, but she refuses. I stay up late at night and shower late due to bad study habits. My mom shares a Jack and Jill bathroom with me. She refuses to share a room with my dad, which I don't judge her for. Last night I showered at 11 p.m. I didn't think it was a big deal at the time. She came in and yelled at me, but she does that all day every day. This morning she barged into my room and grabbed me, threw me on my floor yelling at me, and dumped out all my bins and told me to organize them. She grabbed her pink towel and kept hitting me with it, only like 5 times though, yelling at me that I disrupted her sleep and caused her physical and emotional pain. She ruined the birthday card I made my grandma because it wasn't up to her standards. She's been yelling at me about how the world doesn't revolve around me. How she's the most important person in the house. About how until I start listening to her rules she'll make my life miserable. She's already made my life miserable. She's cancelled activities and makes plans for me without consulting me, making me have almost no extracurriculars and friends. She's threatened to ruin my life if I develop issues unknown to her I already have. I've been crying all day. She's refusing to drive me to my volunteer work today and has forbade me from getting a ride there by someone or an Uber. It's the only thing that makes me happy consistently right now, and I need hours for my college application. Not the most compassionate reason to volunteer, I know, but it's the only reason she lets me do it. I don't know what to do. Should I go to my volunteer work anyways and face the punishment when I get home? She's already been pushing and hitting me all day, and she might still decide to drive me. She's left the house now though. Should I tell someone about this? Should I just follow her stupid rules, which I already try to do better? I just want out. I can't handle this anymore. Maybe this time is my fault, but she's not the center of the universe regardless. Edit. For everyone asking, I'm 16 and have 1 year left of high school. Getting a job is out of the question because I'm not allowed to leave my house and I live in the middle of nowhere, so even if I was allowed to walk I wouldn't be able to. Please follow.
And I was like, okay, if you know me, you know that I'm a very anxious person. My anxiety is through the fucking roof, like in different ways than other people. That's how anxiety works. But anyway, the point fucking is, I'm an anxious mess. And I walk in the nail salon, I tell the lady like, oh, just pedicure, manicure, whatever. She sits me in the seat to get my feet done. I take off my slides, I sit down. I still have my bag in my hand. Like, I have just fucking sat down. And I'm on my phone, there's no lady with me. Like, that's how, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm just fucking, Anyway, and I sit down. And these 2 cops walk in, and I don't know, but the shadow, like, there's a shadow, and I look up, and it's a cop right there in front of my fucking face. And he holds up his phone, and I think he takes a photo of me, and I'm like, hello? So fucking awkward. And he's like, hello, you look exactly like someone we're looking for. And the whole nail salon is just like, and I'm just like, so and I'm thinking, what have I fucking done? Anyway, they're looking at me like I'm like on attempted murder charge. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then before I can even speak, he turns his phone and there's a young girl who is easily under 18. She could have, oh, so fucking awkward. So I'm looking host. Okay, wait. Anyway, this girl would have been 15 like max, right? And she has dark skin. She looked Aboriginal to me. I honestly think she was Aboriginal. And I'm looking at this girl who's clearly a minor, and I'm turning 22 tomorrow. I know I don't look 22, but like, we look nothing fucking alike. No age, no nothing. And I just look at him and go, that's not me. I could show you my ID. And he just stays there silent. And the whole this is the nail salon. This is the Vietnamese ladies. I didn't do anything. I don't fucking know. And then I'm like, that's not me. And then I proceed to get my ID out. And before I can get it out, and I'm like fucking shaking and I'm going so red. I have no fake tan. I'm like, I can't even imagine how red. I could feel my body getting hot. And then before I can even take it out, he goes, oh, not you. Don't worry. And they walk out. And the whole salon is just dead fucking silent. And I'm just like, it goes silent for a bit and everyone's just looking. And then like one lady like kind of giggles. And then I go, you're all clear, guys. Like, you're all safe. And then the whole fucking nail salon starts pissing themselves laughing, like everyone was cracking up, right? And then the whole nail salon and the nail ladies were all just having this big fucking chat the whole hour I was in there about cops and about, like, nothing bad, but just, like, stories of ours. I found out Brenda next to me has 4 sons. One of them knows me, went to my school. Like, it was great. But, like, are they allowed to do that? I was shitting fucking bricks!
Am I the asshole for destroying my poor friend's only source of income by exposing her? My 24 female friend, 25 female, has been struggling a lot financially ever since we graduated. She lives in a really broken down house with a bunch of health hazards as she's not a clean person. She has 4 dogs and they poop and pee on the floor and she barely mops or dusts the place. She also has a bad roach infestation. How people live is not my business, but my friend started a homemade skincare company. Well, I went to her house to drop off some celebratory cake for my fiance and I's engagement party, which she could not attend. She was making some butter in a mixing bowl and she dropped a lot of the powder she was using on the floor and swept it back up and put it in her bowl. I told her she shouldn't sell that and she said it was fine and she's done that stuff before. I was disgusted and left quietly. She's even gave free samples to her friends and most of the time they break out or get a reaction. So my friend has a homemade skin company and I saw her drop some of the powder on the floor and put it back into the bowl. When I told her that she shouldn't sell it, she said it's fine and she's done stuff like that before. I was disgusted and quietly left. She's given free samples to her friends before and most of the time they've broken out or got some weird reaction. Nobody ever said anything as to not discourage her, but this was so unsanitary and unsafe. She's pretty popular and good at advertising, so quite a few people have bought her things. She has 4,000 followers and a lot of people have complained, but she just deletes those comments. Mind you, these are locals from our city. I tried to talk to her, but she said to stop meddling and I was so fed up and thought about the customers. So I made a public post exposing her. She lost countless followers and her reputation was ruined.
The time I effed up by joking about having a small schlong. This happened 3 days ago. I have small dong, but I never had a problem, nor it didn't bother me being small, and never had a problem with my ex-girlfriends about it. So of course, whenever someone made a joke about willy sizes, I always joked about being small. I was with my dad and my brother driving to a tech store to buy a tablet for him dad. We were talking about random shite, but one of those shites were about biological inheritance, and we were joking about how I'm the smallest talking about height, not shaft size, I'm getting bald, but also how I inherited my grandpa's full beard, how my brother has barely any facial hair, my dad's big ears and funny mustache, etc. Every time we joke about him dad, he gets pretty serious and this was no exception. On the way back home, we were listening to a podcast where they made a whiner joke. Of course we started laughing, me and my brother, and that's when I decided to say something like, so I guess I also inherited from someone my little Dominico. I'm not sure what's the actual name of this banana, it's a small banana, I think in some countries they call it ladyfinger, but here in Mexico we call it Dominico. My brother and I started laughing again, but when I looked at the mirror, I saw my dad